We are all here to celebrate two ladies who celebrate us every day of their lives for 40 years. So Abarigani, Hotep, and welcome. I am Dr. Clyde Robertson. I'm the director for the Center for African and African American Studies at Southern University at New Orleans. And this is the 2022 Living Legend program. Every year, we celebrate people who celebrate and assist us. In essence, who help to save our lives. This year's event is also part of our 2022 Women's History Month calendar. The Center for African and African American Studies Living Legend Award is presented to grassroots members of the New Orleans African American community for exemplary and lifelong service to our community in the following areas: education and youth development, community activism, community-based health and welfare, cultural enrichment, and collective economics and small business development. Past Living Legend recipients are Living Legend Brother Malik Rahim in the area of community activism. Brother Anthony Bean. Brother Anthony, please stand. Living Legend, Brother Anthony Bean in the area of cultural enrichment, and Sister Mariama Curry in the area of cultural enrichment. The 2022 awardees are Mama Vera Warren Williams and Mama Jennifer Mama Jen Turner. Yeah. Let's give it up. These dynamic change agents were selected by the Living Legend Committee because of their steadfast commitment to and love for underrepresented people here in the city of New Orleans and indeed around the world. These two savory soul sisters are being recognized for both their education and youth development pursuits and small business development acumen. Yes, this is the first time that two people are being recognized for this singular honor. This is being done because it's virtually impossible to consider one sister without recognizing the other. They are peas in a pod. There is Vera's smooth and steadiness, meld with Mama Jen's two-fisted, brutal honesty that is always given with motherly love and affection. Resultingly, we must acknowledge these two dynamic people, our dynamic duo, together. Now, of course, you're familiar with the dynamic duo. Was that Batman and Robin? Trent, you could keep them. We got our own dynamic duo right here. Mamas Jen and V. Tonight's affair will include films, spoken word poetry, presentations, and a whole lot of love. I also would like to recognize the technical producer for tonight's event, Brother JR. Brother JR. And the filmmakers whose films and whose works will be featured. Sister Tracy Elizabeth, whose dynamic piece you just saw. Sister Tracy, let yourself be seen. And up in the bird's nest, the eagle's nest, Brother Lumumba Mouton, whose documentary will be featured later on in the program. And ladies, These films are yours. They will be gifts to you so that you could use them the way you will on your various platforms. I'd like to thank the 2022 Living Legends Committee for their hard work and love for the community. They will be brought up to the stage nearing the end for a proper introduction and for proper recognition. And I'd also like to recognize and say Asante Sana to Sister Asali Ecclesiastes, Sister Marsha, Brother Wood, and the dynamic staff here at the internationally acclaimed Ashe Center. Thank you for making available to us this tremendous edifice, the Ashe Powerhouse. At the helm of this tremendous institution is a sister who is a mother, wife, daughter, sister, community activist, author, poet, soldier, culturalist, administrator, and much more. When she arrives, she will be brought to the stage because she will be our mistress of ceremonies. But right now, we are going to bring to the screen a tribute to these two dynamic sisters, brought to us by none other than one of the best spoken word artists, not just in the city, not just in the state or the South, but the world, Sister Sonny Patterson.
Some people visit libraries, others become them. Become home for those seeking everything a word can give, reflection and action, beginnings and endings, all wrapped up in a few syllables and sounds. We have found community with you. When other places have eaten us up and spat us out and expected us to keep the slime on our faces, you clean us up with paragraph and prose, line after line, time after time. You give us back ourselves. Show us what it means to be in love with the souls of Black folk, because you know us from cover to spine and every page in between. We are open books in your presence, ready for the reading and the wisdom and the wit and the cuss out and the love up and the shut down. Lord, Mildred's child has become everybody's mama. Did you imagine your life to be this way? Did your Liberty Street dreams come true? Did you see yourself as who you are? As compass and conductor, walking us through uncultivated mental terrain, carrying us over troubled waters of emotions. You point us to the north of ourselves, activating an imagination out of this world. You are scientist and surgeon. Through critical analysis, you cut through some bullshit with expert precision, then give a prescription to aid in the healing. Okay, for now, that'll be 1 dose of the radiance of the king, 2 doses of 2,000 seasons, and let me go ahead and add a dose of Cas. Take as ordered, and we'll monitor your progress from there. Now, certainly this is beyond the bounds of books, beyond the body of letter and shape. This is a call to the literacy of life, a reading of yourself and your environment, a comprehension of the universe and its language, a sharpening of mind, a stamina of spirit, the ability to hear the unspoken words of another and question. So now where you from? In other words, what is your origin story? How do you hold it? How do you give it away? Oh, you hold out an invitation for all of us to remember the beginning of how some people, they just visit libraries, and others, well, they become them.
Greetings, family. How y'all doing? Y'all look so good. No, y'all can speak high. This is not that kind of spot. You know what I'm saying? How y'all doing? All right. You feel good? You look good? You smell good? All right. I'm happy to hear it. So obviously I am not Asali Divine Ecclesiastes, but it has been my pleasure to support that sister for the better part of about 25 years. And I exist and have agency in this work of art and culture due to the expert tutelage of women of color. And Asali is one of those people, along with our distinguished honorees this evening. So I am going to fill in for a moment. I feel good filling in. I'm a fill-in type of brother. You know what I'm saying? So if you ever need something filled in, holler at your boy. So until she arrives, she is caught behind some kind of protest that is going on right now. So she's stuck in traffic, but we honor her and love her. And we know she's here with us in spirit till she's here with us in person. So as you look in your program, chapter 2, right, we are going to allow the family of these phenomenal, extraordinary women to come to the stage to give thought, to give life, to give presence to what they have meant to them in their lives. And I'm going to call them up. For Mama Vera, Dr. Gary Williams, and Ali Williams, y'all want to come up and please bless us with y'all thoughts and prayers. Come on up, come on up. There you go, give it up for the brother. Looking clean, too. Brother know how to wear a suit right there.
Good evening, family. I can't say enough about my lovely wife. She has been a huge motivator to me, and I'm the how to say she's the celebrity of the family, you know. And she's a real celebrity of the family, you know. A lot of people don't even know I exist, but she's a celebrity, man. And I tell you, she's been a huge motivator for me and my son Ali, who's in California. I can't say enough about V, man. I just can't. You know, she, before we were married, I was always in Community Book Center when it was in Tremay. And so what can you say about a legend? Like, he's a legend to me, and I hope to you as well. So thank God for you, baby, you know this. And just thank you guys for supporting her for all the time that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gary. I appreciate you. And again, oh, look, boy, you're making stuff fall. That's that suit. That's how clean you are in that suit. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate you. And now, you know, I'm usually a lot more dapper than this on a regular basis, especially when I'm being in front of people. And because I'm not as dapper as I should be, I'm gonna get the sister up here who is, she is beyond. You know what I'm saying? So now that y'all have probably been sickened of me, please give your time and attention to Sister Asali Divine Ecclesiastes, who will take over these phenomenal duties of Empress of Ceremonies. I'm gonna use that word.
So first, let me say, hello, good evening. It is so good to see you, so good to be here. I'm so honored and blessed by your presence. Second, let me say, now you know they didn't tell me this thing started at no 4:30. This was on my calendar for 6. And I ran into a protest in my travels to get here. So there's a LGBTQ protest today because of this bill that they're trying to pass. And it was great. Even though it was like a band in front of my Uber and all kind of stuff like that. I said it's nothing more fitting than to be trying to get to Mama Jennifer and then to run into protests. Because if there was ever a person who has taught, not just me, even though, you know, I like to think that I'm her favorite baby, right? And we are, you know what I'm saying? But she has taught us as a community, as an ecosystem, as a people, how to raise our voices and be heard above those who would rather us be silent, above those who are so invested in our silence that they do everything that they can to make it so. She taught us how to use all of these tools, all of these words, right, to express something so sublime about who we are. And so even though I knew she was gonna come, I said either she gonna have on shorts or she gonna have on some jogging pants or some African pants. That's her, you know, dress up. And a t-shirt, I'm surprised it's long sleeve. I said I was going to put on some finery and express outwardly how she makes me feel when I'm in her presence. She makes me feel divine. She makes me feel elevated and loved. She makes me feel powerful and expressive. And so The timing couldn't be more perfect. The protest made me get here right at the time. We'll say right here, this is where we at. On Mama Jennifer. And so I would appreciate it if we could all put our energy and our love and our intention and our blessings on Mama Jennifer for all that she is, all that she has been, and all that she will be eternally to who we are. Mama Jennifer.
Of course, like Sister Vera, who traveled this long way with the support of a dynamic and loving family, so does Jennifer travel a long way with the support of a loving family. Every time I see Jennifer, she has an entire book report to provide about the growth of her grandson. I hadn't seen him since he was a little boy, and now look at him. So I'd like to bring to the podium the four brothers who are the wind beneath that sister's wings. Brothers, come on up and share your thoughts and experiences with Mama Jen.
Good evening, everyone. And I'm probably less of a speaker than Mama Jen. I was going to give y'all maybe one or two sentences, and then I was going to turn it over to one of my sons and my grandbaby. So here comes one of them. Mama Jen and I have been together since elementary, junior high, I'm sorry, getting old. The junior high school, I tried to talk to her. And because I was an amorous young person, she put me off for like 6 months before she even gave me the phone number. And since then, I can honestly say I'm glad I kept begging for that number. But she's a wonderful person, caring, loving, and I can honestly say if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here right now. These two young men and this up-and-coming warrior will be something to contend with. And it's all because of her. We have another grandson called Ali. And he has proven that also. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to tell you all that I am very grateful for her. And that was the second sentence.
Short and sweet, just like my father is. You ready to talk, man? You want to say something? Come on, say something, man. Come on. Come to the hall. You can take it over, say what you got to say right quick. What you going to say about Mama?
You love Mama? Just say you love Mama. You want me to go?
You're playing the shy role right now.
You love Mama?
What do you want to say about Mama What you think about all the rest of these kids who think they her, that she their mama too?
I gotta go home with them. Now you're starting something.
Okay. All right. One thing I want to do is give up in 8th grade. It might be 8th grade. Old stuff, yeah. I didn't bring up 9th grade now, but 8th grade. My mom had to find this book that she saw on Oprah. And we traveled all over the lower Ninth Ward, upper Ninth Ward, Gentilly, uptown, until we got the number. And Vera answered the phone and said, I'm right here. I'm right here. So we're going down Poland Avenue, hitting every bump that we could find. And we found Community Book Center. Books everywhere stacked up, just looking like a warehouse, stacked up with books. Then got the books, not only that book, but the books from that point, and which jotted my love for reading for historical fiction, coming of age in Mississippi. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, and that really started it off. And year after year, we started getting more and more books. And then one day, now we know as TV, said she needed some help at the bookstore. And my mom went over there, sat there, and got stuck. Like they put a nail in her foot, and she just got stuck. And then that's when we started going over there. Me and my brother, we'll catch the bus, because we had to beat our mama. Our mama would beat us during the summer, but we had to catch the bus and get over there, and we had to help people in the community. We had to go pay bills for people. We'll go on Canal Street, pay all these bills for people. And that's when we started getting connected with the community. And the community started getting connected with us, started opening up to us, opening up to Vera with functions, and started doing book signings, and all in this little hot box on 1200 Ursuline. And we started elevating. Then we went on we went on Broad Street, then to Bayou Road. And with that road, they always had somebody trying to, detour or put in some kind of obstacle for TV and Mama Jen. And Mom would be the raw and uncut and just say, you know what? And can't go so far saying what I can say, what she says. But Vera was like the even if she wasn't a cigarette, she'll still be smoking. Person, she was smooth with it. She was smooth with it. And what can we do? What can we do? And then it was like, it's already known that Vera had diffused it. Because she said, what can we do? Okay, but I don't think it's going to work. And when she says that, it's over with. And that's when, that's when the brute force comes in. What she said? What did she say? This is Mama Jen at this point now. What did she say? You heard what she said? And it's tit for tat. It's tit for tat. And what's beautiful about it is that it's still like that. And it's going to be like that. And no other choice like that. My mom doesn't like awards. She doesn't like to be recognized for doing what she loves. She always say, I always want to do this and that. I'm like, come on, let them do it. Some people don't, like to give you flowers. She said, but when I get flowers, I kill them. I said, but they gave you this, but I said, Mom, but they gave you the seeds. These people are the seeds. And when you put them in the dirt and you watch them grow, that's their flowers of blooming. Because they bloomed right in front of you. It showed you how beautiful that you did for them. You know, the beauty that you did for them as that seed. You know, I think I overtalked. So, all right.
All right, I'll definitely make mine nice and quick, but I got 2 quick stories. So back in the late 80s, early 90s, if you was a business owner and if you didn't have a copying machine, well, you wasn't in business. So one year, TV bought a copying machine and it went out. And the brother who sold her the copying machine wasn't answering his phone. So I was going to Beauregard on Canal Street at the time, and she picked me up from school from time to time. Well, this particular day, homeboy was out and about with the copying machine. So she ran up on him. So I don't know what he was thinking. You know, he was like, oh, Sister Vera. You know, when they start hitting that Sister Vera talk, you know, 2 things either happening. They lying or they trying to lie. So, oh, Sister Vera, you know, I'm gonna work on it. She was like, you know what, bro? You can't sell me nothing. And ever since then, that was a story. We tell it as a funny story, but in reality, it was a learning lesson for me to make sure that whatever you pay for, you get your money's worth. And the investment that TV has made into the community is definitely paying off, as we see with these beautiful people around us. Also, her husband, Dr. Gary Williams, assistant basketball coach, he has done a lot in this community, and you can see why those two mesh so well. Can't say enough about him. You know, just a great guy, because I remember when he used to come into the bookstore, we used to be like, who that brother is with the yellow suit? And you know, it was Uncle G, you know, suave debonair. You know, you can see why those two got together. I mean, you know, Ali, who's very calm, very debonair, and highly intelligent. And my mom, it's one of the hardest things as a son is to share your mom, but her personality and her love for the community, you have no choice but to fall back and let her hug and love and call her, you know, adopted children's son and adopted daughter's daughter. You know, you can't be mad about that. And from that, we have a lot of sisters. You know, thank you to Sister Sonny Patterson and her wonderful family. Thank you to countless brothers and sisters that we have acquired through my mom and TV. You know, just want to say thank you guys for doing that for us, for coming into our lives. We really do appreciate it. And Mom, we love you. You know, I know you don't like the fanfare. I know you don't like, you know, people talking about you, but you are such an amazing woman. You and TV, and you guys are definitely community legends. Definitely. So thank you.
We clearly understand, ladies, why you are a legend. If you're not a legend in your own homes, then you're only a legend in your own mind. And so now we have the whole story. Not only are you a legend among people who are not blood related, but you are cherished and adored by those with whom you live the closest. And so that, to me, carries a lot of weight. So congratulations, sisters, for being adored and cherished by your family. I want you to recognize that we in the committee developed a program, literally a physical program, that is inspired by books. So we're now entering into Chapter 3. Chapter 3 will be culminated with a documentary, the featuring of a documentary about these two ladies, specially directed, written, and produced by Brother Lumumba, which actually quite beautifully summarizes everything that has just been said by everyone. But prior to that, we have, we're a city that has remarkable spoken word artists, remarkable. And when I say they are among the best in the country, the world, they are. So the next brother to approach the microphone is one of our spoken word treasures, who actually works here. Brother Wood. Brother Wood.
Thank you, Bob.
All right.
All right. Y'all remember me? All right, no, I'm just playing. People calling me on my phone. It's often we talk about, so many people have said so many things about these two phenomenal sisters, but, to have for a long time, I never called myself a poet, right? Because I felt like to be a poet, you have to be a student of poetry. So I said that I write poetry. So even I tell that to my students now, I say, we write poetry. We're not necessarily poets because we haven't reached that plateau yet, right? We haven't did that yet. But as you move through this world of literature and poetry and all these different things, you come across people who have different relationships with words. And it's so many times when I sat with Mama Jen and have just been blessed by the amount of knowledge that she holds from the amount of books and the amount of words that she knows is just beyond. And then Mama Vera, the reason why I brought these unks out on this stage, because I have moved these unks at least 200 times in my life. And every time I put my hands on one of them, I think about Mama Vera and Baba Doug, right? And it just, it makes them light as a feather. Every time I have to move them because I think about her and I think about him, and it just makes me understand the nature of community, right? And the nature of how we do for each other and what family means. Because there's been a many times, Baba Doug made that for my wedding. She done told me that story about 18 times. And every time I listen and be like, yes, ma'am, I'm going to put them on this stage. They didn't move to this building, to that building, and back again, So I usually don't perform during Women's History Month, right? Because I feel like it's just that. So there's been a couple of folks who's like, oh, Wood, do you have a Women's History Month poem? And I'd be like, why are you asking me? You got to call Sally, call Sonny, call whoever. So, but I did talk to my sister Icon, who told me one time, she was like, it's not just enough for you to make space for us, but you have to use your voice for us as well. So because she said that, and she actually said that to me on Bayou Road, standing in the parking lot next to Community Book Center, I'm gonna offer y'all this piece, and I'm sorry about the sentiment beforehand, but it made me think about this piece that started at Community, and just said what I needed to say about Women's History Month and where I feel like what part I should play. So it says, I can see the pain behind your smile. See the marks of a childhood never meant to end so soon. See the scars of a wound never meant to be touched so soon. And I want to tell you that I'm different. Tell you that my love can erase the past you've been running from. Tell you I know an angel when I see one, but this life been plucking at your wings for so long. And I wish I could sing songs to run the monsters from your dreams, but it seems monsters always show up in sequels and in uncles, in stepfathers and in exes, in supervisors and superstars, and Jello pudding popping 12-plate pedophiles, and Papa never preached about these pastors and priests trying to prey on your precious, shredding your hymen in your spirit, smothering your screams so no one can hear it, and I want to be the one who listens with pure ears, without the privilege of patriarchy or the promise of empty promises, this cat-calling consciousness that only sees you through the eyes of predator and prey. And I wish I wasn't so silent. Wish I could be some kind of shepherd who delivers homilies and doctrine to other men that it's okay to see you're human, see you holy, see you more than footnote in man's story, deliver tirades as strong and grim as the ones they give when you reject them, but there may never be enough time for us to heal. Trial and balance between the burdens of being broken into pieces or lifetimes of being seen as weak and unequal when all you've ever truly asked is to be seen and heard, but in a room full of mankind, who would really be listening? Instead of telling you when to speak, only when spoken to. And since I know you've grown more than tired of having men tell your story,
That's my Chief Creative Officer. I would like to give a shout out to Baba Malik Rahim, the first living legend who's joined us tonight. Give it up. Speaking of brothers who make space for and use their voices on behalf of women and all of us. But there are some women who don't need anybody to use their voice on their behalf. You heard a story a little while ago, right? Hello. So if Mama Jen taught us protest, Mama Vera taught us she taught us how to stand in our space and in our power, in our fullness, in our royalty, and look anybody and everybody straight in the eye and say, now what? Because I am all of this, and if you come into me, you better come with all you got. I have a poem that says, I am Oya, warrior goddess, mother of nine. I fight with buffalo, I dance with fire. I cannot lose. So it is death you choose when you decide to battle with me. And once we meet, there is no retreat, because only surrender will set you free. Well, if you want to be free in Mama Vera presence, you better surrender all that foolishness. You better get straight to the point. Surrender that ego, surrender all that game you coming with, and bring your honesty, bring your hard work and commitment, and then it's on and popping. And so I just want to say thank you, Mama V, for being that woman for all of us. Thank you.
I met Vera, it would have to be in the 70s. It may have been as early as 69, but I believe it was in the 70s. And when I first met Vera, we had an organization in the Lower Ninth Ward called Haitiana. And she worked with us at Haitiana.
Man, I walked in the kids section, I was like, every kid book is Black. And so being like a dark-skinned Black girl, baby, that was such an amazing thing. And that experience is the same experience I have every time that I enter, even though, entering, I'm not looking, only at the kid books per se. I'm looking at all of the books. Or kid books, you're like, buying a book for a friend or a shower or a kid's birthday, but that experience of being centered, where like Blackness is the norm in Community Book Center, as opposed to Blackness is not a qualifying word. It's not Black woman, it's woman, because Blackness is the norm. And that is the experience of Community Book Center.
For me, Community Bookstore has been so many things over the years. Most notably a resource for not just books and other products related to the literary world, but just a wealth of history and knowledge, because it seems to be a hub, for our people. Aside from Mama Jennifer and Mama Vera obviously being staples and really literally pillars of the community, as opposed to pillows of the community. They provide and attract some very interesting people who have stories, people who really were there, and many of the things that we hear about and read about, many of the people who were there come through Community Book Center. I've had the pleasure and honor to have met them and, you know, conversed with them.
They, Mama Jen and Mama Vera, in different ways, they remind me of the women in my family, of the women who raised me. You know, open, loving, but still like firm, you know, have boundaries. And those are the women who raised me.
I mean, Mama Jennifer, Mama Vera nurtured my own children and so many other children. And when I was part of a African-centered homeschool, of course, our books were sourced through Community Book Center. And at the time, the sister Mama Kendra, you know, she had memories of Mama Vera selling books right out of her trunk. And, you know, that's even before the current location right now. And just her dedication and leadership to our people and raising awareness and helping folks gain a sense of their own power by reading the truth of who we've been, which is shaping who we are now and who we've become.
I would say I feel very blessed to have known in my formative years free Black women, you know, like Black women who I'm sure at huge cost sometimes have been unapologetic even before the word became trendy.
My personal legacy, I see as being one of commitment to the people, commitment to truth. My name, Vera, means truth. And always wanting to make sure that the true history and legacy of our people is available, is on the forefront, to dispel all myths and lies about who we are and what we are about, but to constantly lift up Black excellence and show our rich history, our rich culture, our rich past, as well as presenting myself as an example for young people and others, that if you see a need in the community, if you see that there's a void somewhere, it's not about looking to someone else to do it. We all have the ability to step right in and take care of whatever needs to be done. So I pray that folks will look at it and say, hey, if she did this with $300, you know, and just a commitment to making sure that the truth be told, then hey, I could do that. It all began with me going into the schools. I was primarily at Edison Elementary in the lower Ninth Ward, where I was born and raised. And I would go into the classrooms and I would not see books and other educational materials reflective of the student population at the schools. Because of my background in social work and my association with the New Orleans and the National Association of Black Social Workers, I would collect books from the vendors at the conference. So I had my own personal library. So I began to bring my personal books into the classroom, sharing them with the students. And I noticed that the children lit up when they had an opportunity to see themselves and see their family, culture, history played out in a positive manner in books.
I come from a family of good time people, and Dave did too. So we were very not only family oriented, but we were community oriented. I grew up on Liberty Street. When I say grew up, I'm talking about internally, and being wise and knowing all of the kids on that block, down the street and everything. So I grew up on Liberty Street. So community has always been our thing.
The idea came from Brother Kwaku Kushandana, who was a member of Haitiana, as I was a member of Haitiana as well. And Kwaku was selling books out of his home. And I said, if Kwaku could sell books in Baton Rouge out of his home, then I knew that I could do the same thing in New Orleans. And it had gotten to that point because people were so interested in the books that they wanted to borrow my books. And I knew from past experience that you don't loan out anything that you really want, because chances of you getting it back are slim to none. So I got the idea of having a book service for the New Orleans community. It was at an event at the zoo, the Black Heritage Festival. And again, for folks to see a table full of books reflective of African American history and culture, positive, that didn't only deal with slavery, was a rarity. And so people gravitated and still do gravitate to our tables wherever we are. And Mama Jennifer was one of those that was pulled in by the magnet.
We got to the zoo. The boys, they were a little older, so they went on up and looked around and everything. So then they came back and said, "Ma, they got a lady over there sell books like we read." I said, "Where?" And so they come, so went over there. Well, what it was is that Kaia and Donald Lewis and all of them, they were dressed in historical figures. And they said, we were wondering who the mom was that, that knew, these boys knew who we were. I said, oh yeah, we read that.
When I had the books, in addition to selling them in my car and out of my car, I would sell them from my home, my parents' home. I had a setup in the den, and I had books, shelves, and everything. And so people had begun to come to the house to purchase books. And we live in our house. So it's not like, a regular retail outlet. We live in our house. And so the other thing that concerned me was, again, because of the popularity, there was no other place in the city that was selling books other than, stores during February, Black History Month. So for people to have an opportunity to purchase this type of books and materials throughout the year was a big thing. So word spread quickly, and people began coming to the house more and more. And it made me concerned about my family's safety in terms of having all kinds of people coming in and out of our house that we did not know. So for security purposes, I shut that down and decided to look for a smaller place outside of my home that I could. I was given the opportunity by a sister, Denise Ballard, Gabriella Ballard's mother. She had a little gift shop and flower shop in the basement of their home on Poland Avenue. So our first location outside of 1836 Renee Street was 1421 Poland Avenue. We stayed there for a couple of months, and I was offered an opportunity to work at the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, working with the African Marketplace, which was previously known as Coindu and has become named Congo Square. So when I was leaving the interview from the Jazz Fest, I drove around the corner, turned on Ursulines, and when I got to Ursulines in St. Claude, I saw this corner building like in the crossroads that was for sale. And I was like, wow, this would be a great place for the bookstore. But I don't have no money to buy no building. So I decided to call the number anyway, and the people were interested in leasing it. So Community Book Center then moved to its own location at 1200 Ursuline Street.
So they told the library, Louise Lamont, she taught me a lot too. She said, Jennifer, you got a phone call. And so I said, a phone call? Because the kids were in school and I ain't have a phone. I never did like phones. But so I answered the phone. I said, hello, what you doing? I said, I'm, helping out in the library. What you doing tomorrow? I said, well, I didn't know Pinky in the Brain, but if I had known Pinky in the Brain, I'd have said, try to, conquer the world, I said, same thing. She said, could you come by about 12 o'clock? I said, okay. And I knew where the store was because, I'd been going to the store, and my sister taught school, and she would, have them over or whatever. She said, what they doing? So that's what happened. She sought me out. I don't know how she found me at the library, but she told me, she said, I called your mom, because I had my mom's phone number down.
I knew of her love and passion for reading, and I knew that she was volunteering at the library across the river at the time. And so I went looking for her. She wasn't there, but they gave her a message, and she contacted me back. And I told her I needed some support, and she began coming and volunteering and helping.
In the beginning, it was slow as I don't know what, sitting up in that bookstore, nobody really coming, And she would send me on things that I said, how she know I'm gonna do? How she know what? And as the first thing she sent me on was around the corner at the Tremay Center with Big Duck. And I did stories right around the corner. I don't know how she knew I did that, but I did stories right around the corner. So it was an adventure. It was it gave you ideas. It made you think. So the more I read, the more I thought. The more I read, the more I wanted. And I wanted to see the other kids succeed, just like she did. So I would go around to the different schools early in the morning because the store opened at 12. And so if the store opened at 12, I had enough opportunity to go to various schools and talk about books and things like that.
It began instantly to be the gathering, the meeting place, the hangout place. And people didn't realize that we did not have central air or heating. That for that big old building, in the winter, when it was cold, it was cold. In the summer, when it was hot, it was hot. But it was always full of people, full of energy, and full of conversation and dialogue.
So you put people in that context as family, and it's quite easy. People walk into the bookstore, I be thinking I know them because they've been in here before, and they look at me and say, no, you sure you haven't been in here, So, if you put people in the context of family, then I think that's why it doesn't seem like a lot.
We had an opportunity to participate in the first Essence Music Festival. Actually, we created the Book Emporium at the Essence Music Festival. And after that experience and the level of inventory that we amassed from there, we knew that it was time to move on to a larger location, as well as one we thought had greater visibility and accessibility. So we left our loving home in Treme, our community there, and moved to 217 North Broad. On the occasion of our 20th anniversary, we decided that it was important, if we were going to talk about Kujichagulia, self-determination, then we needed to begin to practice those values and have a place of our own and not have to move according to other people's whim. And we set out and we found this place where we're located now at 2523 Bayou Road, and we've been here ever since.
All I do is do. You know, that's all we do is do. If what was that? And little A John say, don't you go counting your teeth. You know, you bring bad luck. So I didn't go counting, what it is that we do. They are blessings, it's true. But I never think about that part.
I think in terms of community book center's legacy, I would like people to always remember it as an open, welcoming place where our best, the very best of who we are, is on showcase, is being available to the whole world. The books we sell primarily are by and about people of African descent, but it's not exclusively for people of African descent. It's important that all people read and understand who we are. And it's also an opportunity for others to see what role they played and continue to play in this system of injustice that, we're still struggling and we're still fighting for. And so I think also that when people learn more of the truth of who people are, then they can have a greater and different respect for them and honor that in their actions and in their deeds.
That's the biggest thing. What is legacy? I remember Sean when my mom died, and we were all in the car, and he said, I wish I had known Tony better. He knew her, but he wished he had known her better, So I don't know. When people speak of us, I hope they speak about us with truth and honesty, with love. That's about it.
I feel really good about Community Book Center, and I'm grateful that they're there, remaining as an institution for 4 decades plus. I'm only just a little bit older than Community Book Center, and that's very significant too. And so much so that, as a member of the Crescent City Lodge UD, which is Prince Hall Lodge, the brothers president by vote selected Community Book Center as a institution that we would offer our services to as a lodge, as a collective. And again, with a great source of pride as Black men in a Black man's organization, to support our divine feminine elders in this way, it brings me great joy and a tremendous amount of pride in being able to participate in that. And the actual meeting for that, the meetup for that, is going to happen in the form of a cash mob on Saturday, March 26th, beginning at 11 o'clock. And we're just asking everybody to come out and fellowship and connect with Crescent City Lodge, UD, and of course, Community Book Center, and to spend at least a minimum of $25 with Community Book Center, just to make that Saturday a really strong revenue deal.
All right, what do you think? Just a small token of our appreciation to these sisters who have done so much for us. At this point, I'd like to bring Sister Tracy and Brother Lumumba to the mic, Sister Monique, and Sister Elise, who also participated in the filming of the commercial. Remember, we are providing to the ladies those commercials that you saw earlier, and also the documentary, which I think is history-making. And so the filmmakers will now explain and express their gratitude to the sisters. Thank you all for doing such a tremendous job.
Good evening. I don't have anything prepared. I didn't know I was going to be up here. I guess I'll do like everybody else and tell my favorite Mama Jennifer and Mama Vera story. I've known all of them. I've known both of them all of my life, and I didn't grow up in the best neighborhoods in New Orleans. But when people wonder why I speak well and I carry myself well, it's because I'm well read, and I absolutely. They have a big part in that. And, growing up, we would go there and we would get books. And I come from a reading family. If somebody got a book, it would go to everybody in the family before it would get put on the shelf. And, my favorite memory of Mama Jen is probably a lot of people's, and that's where she told me a new one. Because I came down from Chicago, and Community Book Center was always one of my stops when I would come down. And I go and I visit them, and Mama Jen says, where's your son? I said, well, he didn't make this trip. And she said, y'all gonna have to start bringing y'all children because we're not gonna be here forever. And if y'all children don't get to know us and get to learn from us, they need to know us. And, I not only made sure that I brought my son after that anytime I could, and I understood Mama Jennifer's place in the community, but it let me understand my place in the community. And for Mama Vera, one day I'm in the store and I was buying a gift for somebody. And she went and off the shelf, she got a gift bag and she got some tissue and she's making that, I was like, well, how much do I owe you for all of this? And she said, every time you sit at my table, you don't have to pay. And as a business owner and an entrepreneur, it not only gave me a guide on how I could conduct my business, but also how I could be a business person and interact with the community in a positive way. So those are my stories, and that's it.
Greetings. I didn't have anything prepared as well, but I'm going to speak from the heart. I learned about Community Book Center through Christian Unity Baptist Church. And it was always pushed and told, you have to go. You have to care about your culture. You have to know who you are. And it went beyond that. And doing this little production, which is so much more to come, you have no idea, it made me feel community. When Mama Vera asked the question, what does community mean to you? It's us. It's the mirror reflection. And when I'm advised to seek out a book that no one else had, and I went to Mama Jennifer, I said, someone special told me I need this book. And she looked at me, she said, oh, you one of the special ones. And it was so awakening to me how powerful our books are. And now at this point in my life, at 42, I don't crave the mainstream media. I want the book. Whether it's Audible, whether it's reading it, it's something about connecting. If you want to hide something, it's in the book. And I didn't know that until now. And I told Mama Jennifer, I said, I didn't see books like me when I was in school. I never did. I never had a story time where someone would open a book that looked like me. But now that I know better, I can spread that joy everywhere I go. Every bus ride that I take, every store that I go into, that clip happened literally on the fly. When I mentioned community bookstore, book center to the cashier, she said, oh, I went there. I said, hold up, pause, camera, speak. It was totally her authentic self. And when she said her name was Vera, I said, no, what's your name? She's like, no, my name is Vera too. I'm like, wow. So I have no choice but to be an ambassador for the greatness that comes out of it. And there's so much more to come. And when we filmed the talk on the critical race theory, ooh-wee, y'all got something in store for you. Because that same question came up while I was there to someone who was visiting from Tennessee. Y'all, I can't believe how divine the universe is in creating the pathways for us to learn from each other. So I want you to take hold to that, encourage anyone you see. Have you heard about Community Book Center? What does it mean to you? I will spend all of my dollars there. And I said, I will volunteer so I can pay off some of the things that I want, like the fabric. Y'all, it's too much. But I want to give thanks to everyone for the opportunity to actually have served. And I'm going to continue to serve. And I encourage you to. Just come in. There's so much that happened. I couldn't help but to spend my dollars on the little kids that were just crying if they wanted something. I said, let's go get a bookmark. And say, just put it on my card. Because that child will then receive a planted seed that someone cares about them, that looks like them, and that seed will continue to grow. So thank you, Mama Jen. Thank you, Mama Vera, for being the seed in my life to have me grow all the way up, and I will always sit at your feet, and I give thanks for the opportunity to be with you. I love you.
She said everything I wanted to say, so I'm not going to be that long. I just want to say it was an honor to be a part of this project. Mama Jen, Mama Vera, you guys are awesome. We need people like you in this community. The generation that's growing up now have no clue, the majority of them, of the things that you guys taught our generation, of just the essence of their Blackness, knowing who they are, where they come from. A lot of that teaching started with you guys. Yeah, it starts in the home, but you guys are an extension of that home. Programs like you have, programs like I'm really home of Anthony Bean Theater. These Black programs that we have here in this city needs to be honored more and more. You guys need to be honored. You need to be uplifted. And in that way, not only just in talk, but you need to be uplifted monetary, money-wise. I know you guys need funding. So that's why it's so important for everyone in here. How they say, each one teach one? Each one bring somebody to the event, to the part two, because there's so much more that's gonna be done there to actually patronize and give back to this, to make sure that we keep these programs going on. And that's all I have to say.
So I have a personal story to tell. Centuries ago, that street called Bayou Road was water. And along those routes of little rivulets of water were indigenous peoples and Africans living together, trading. I grew up on 2401 Governor Nichols Street. My grandfather purchased the house where some of the sisters of the Holy Family resided. And my grandfather started a business 50 years ago on Barrack Street. So that space where Community Book Center resides is like home to me. And I would like to end my sharing with welcome home, Mama Jen and Mama Vera.
Again, thank you, sisters and brother. If you follow your book, we're now in chapter 4. We're now in chapter 4. You've already met 2 members of the Living Legends Committee. I think I might have to divert from the book, and I want to bring to the stage Sister Freddie Evans. Sister Freddie. Brother Trent Smith, Sister Linda Hill, Sister Darlene Holmes. These are the other members of the Living Legends Committee. Sisters Elise and Sisters Elise and Monique are the other members of the Living Legends Committee. Please recognize these sisters and brothers. We all have our stories to tell about Sisters Vera and Jen, the living legends. But how much do you know about them? For example, can someone point out Miss SUNO 1977? Is there a Miss SUNO in 1977? Miss SUNO 1977. 7980. Oh, I'm sorry, 7980. I gave her a couple of years, I'm sorry. Now you were Miss Junior then in 1978, 77, 78, Miss Junior. Who was the sister who attended Louisiana Tech? However, while she matriculated at Louisiana Tech, she hung out at nearby Grambling. So much so, where she argued football with the legendary Eddie Robb and won the arguments, to the extent to which Eddie Robb called her the New Orleans girl and knew her on sight. Now, who is that? Will the New Orleans girls stand up? So, again, these sisters have a long history before the Community Book Center. All of that helps into proving their legendary status. I'd like to read some commemorative gifts that we have for the ladies. In fact, these gifts were crafted by a young lady in the Center for African American Studies, Sister Linda Hill, who crafted these awards. And the Living Legend Award to both Vera and Mama Jen will read as follows. In recognition of lifelong contributions to education, humanities, and culture, established on this day in March. Presented by the Southern University at New Orleans Center for African and African American Studies, a Title III program. This is the Living Legend Award, and we also have framed certificates for the ladies, which read as follows. The Southern University at New Orleans Center for African and African American Studies proudly presents the Living Legend Award Certificate of Sincere Appreciation to Mama Jen and, of course, Sister Vera, in recognition of lifelong contributions to cultural, artistic enrichment, and supportive investment in educational and professional development of our youth, and I will add, our adults as well, presented on this day. And endorsed by Dr. Brenda Jackson, Vice Chancellor of, and this is quite small and my eyes are quite bad, Vice Chancellor of Research and Strategic Initiatives and Executive Director of Title III, also signed by Dr. James Ammons, Chancellor, Southern University at New Orleans, and myself. These certificates are being presented to you in great respect, admiration, and of course, least of which, is that correctly stated? No, it's incorrectly stated. Most of all, with love.
Good evening. While Mama Jennifer and we'll call her Mama Vera also come to the stage, I would like to just thank them on behalf of all of the authors whose books they carry, the local, national, and even international authors, because whenever someone wants to know where they can get my book, I say Community Book Center. If it were not for them, I wouldn't be able to say that. They keep it in stock, and they push it, they promote it. So that is the reason whenever I have a book out, they are the first to have my book signing. Thank you so much, Mama Vera, Mama Jen.
Again, to Sister Vera Warren Williams, our Living Legend Award for 2022. Our Certificate of Appreciation as a Living Legend, 2022. Mama Jen, in loving recognition as a living legend for 2022, the award, and also the Living Legend Certificate of Appreciation.
Thank you.
Now, the ladies will also receive, as a token of our appreciation from the Center for African and African American Studies, a cash award as well, and that will be forthcoming. At this point, we'd like to have Mama Jen to say a few words, and then afterwards, Mama V.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody in the community, and look at DJ over there. But I see Amber sitting there, and she knows how much her mom meant to me.
It's okay.
And a lot of times, Della was just more than teaching me how to storytell. She told me why to storytell. I miss that woman.
Good evening, everyone. I guess that's a perfect segue. I would like to give thanks, first of all, to the creator of us all. Breath, life. I also want to acknowledge our ancestors, those for whose shoulders we stand on. Our familiar ancestors, our community ancestors, our collective ancestors, those who have paved the way so that we can stand here and be a part of this celebration this evening. I also want to acknowledge my family. I am truly blessed to have been born into the family that I was born into. I would like to acknowledge my sister and niece, Warren Stewart, and my niece, Tanya Johnson, and all of my family who could not be here this evening, but who are watching us from far and near. When I think about a lot of my motivation and my inspiration, I first think of my parents, my mother, Georgetta Warren, and my father, Edward Warren. And I'm grateful to have been born into a family that truly exemplified family. I often talk about my grandmother and some of the things that she would say. And that was because we were fortunate enough to have our grandmother live with us. And so as a result of that, I learned care, compassion, and community from my family. What I do, why I do it, even down to the name, community, is as a result of me coming up in a home that emphasized the importance of community. I would probably say the most influential person in my life, aside from my father, who I watch balance the bills and the books on a legal pad, was my aunt, Vera Davis, for whom I'm named after. My aunt was a seamstress extraordinaire, I might add.
she didn't just make clothes. She dressed the community. She made majorette, full band outfits, full bridal parties, the whole choir, the usher robes, all of that before you could order them out of a catalog. You may come in the bookstore and you may notice that our special order book is a composition notebook. And yes, our point of sale program does allow us to take special orders through the computer. But my ancestral memory leads me to my aunt, who kept all of her clients, their measurements, their phone numbers, and what they wanted in a composition notebook. I know that this is, it is connected. But I like chakri, which is an African dish made of couscous, sour cream, and pineapple with raisins, because my nighttime snacks with my grandmother in addition to graham crackers, vanilla wafers, and cheese, and ginger snaps, was cornbread crumbled up with buttermilk. And it wasn't until I was working at the Jazz Festival and I was a food taster that I realized the connection that cornbread and buttermilk came from chakri, from the couscous, and that we used our ancestral memory to recreate the things that we were accustomed to at home. And we brought it to this land. And as the Sankofa principle teaches us, that it's never too late to go back and fetch it. So even though books with Black faces and Black truths were not readily available, not only in schools, but in libraries or anywhere else, I knew that it was important for us to go back and fetch it, that we had to bring it forward so that we could plan for our future. Now, if you'd have told me I'd have still been doing this some 40 years later, I would not have believed it. But that has only been possible because of the support of our families. My husband, Dr. Gary Williams, who when I married him was the Popo, New Orleans Police Department. And everybody wanted to know, she marrying the police? I'm grateful for not only the physical security that my husband has provided for me and our family, but for the emotional support. For without his support, we couldn't do what we do. Baba Dave and the rest of the family, the same goes there. When we started doing Community Book Center, it was before there was any www, before internet, before Facebook, before Instagram. And I often refer to Madam C.J. Walker and her ability to amass millions before UPS, before fax machines, oftentimes without a telephone. But when you put your mind into your mission, there is nothing that you can't do. I want to thank my friend Saron Sunra, who's been braiding hair, standing on her feet for just as many years as I have. I also want to acknowledge Mrs. Beverly McKenna for her vision and her commitment to community. It is because of her love for our people that, if nothing else, the 2500 block of Bayou Road is known as Black Wall Street. Black Bayou, because it's blackity black black. Unapologetically providing opportunities for small businesses to have storefronts, to come in off the streets, come in out the trunks of their cars, out of their homes, into proud places of businesses. I am so appreciative for this opportunity. I only pray and wish that my son Ali, my nieces and my nephews, and all the little children who I've taught and continue to touch will be able to see through my actions and my deeds what it means to be a true servant for the people. With sacrifice, I tell my son all the time, son, you have to sometimes delay gratification. And whether you know it or not, Mama Jennifer and I, we have delayed gratification on a monetarily basis, but we've received rewards unmeasurable from how you all have touched our lives and how you have enriched us. And all of the stories about all of the lessons that you've learned from us, do know that you all are teaching us every day, every minute. I just learned how to post on Facebook. Thanks, DJ. Tiara's teaching me new things. And it's important that we remain open and receptive. I also want to acknowledge Brother Sergio, who's I call him our tech guru, and he will quickly say his degree is in theology, not technology. But believe me, he has helped us in ways that we could never say. Robin, we appreciate the lunch and the food that you bring and you share with us all the time. Chris, your ideas, your directions, we appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, Kathy, for driving all the way
Thank you.
from Baton Rouge. And I just want to say this in closing. as Brother Clyde was saying, like things that you didn't know. Many of you may not know this, but the original vision was not a book center, but a museum. Because I attended the first Black Museums Conference in Chicago at the DeSable Museum. And I saw an exhibition and a film called Ethnic Notions, which was full of negative, stereotypical images of us and our people. And it was at that point I said, no, the truth must be told. And I would always remember my aunt and my mother and my grandmother talking about the Gold Dust twins. And I never knew why they hated the Gold Dust twins, because they would often refer to my mother and her sister as the Gold Dust twins. And I realized that it was a stereotypical image on a box of detergent. And that made me understand how important it is, because if little children grow up believing that these images are true, then that limits their vision of themselves and what they're able to accomplish. And they'll begin to continue to act on these false narratives. So that is why Community Book Center was started, continues, and will continue. And regardless of the size of our space or the number of likes we get, we are still here to serve you, and we're glad that you're here to support us. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not gonna be up here too long because folks done said some profound things, and I'll just be repeating some things. Just real quickly, Mama Jennifer, I have told you more times than I want to count how much you mean to me. But Mama Vera, I have not done the same. And I just want you to know that. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. So, this is for you, Mama Vera. More than a woman who was raised in a community and household of service and self-determination. Vera Warren was groomed by giants in her Ninth Ward neighborhood, believers and fighters for the people. So how could she not follow that path? Well, easily, I would say. A life of service is not easy and often thankless. A life of service is more struggle than accolades. But sometimes a life of service is being the example, not the exception. Sometimes a life of service is building doors and not just knocking down walls. Sometimes a life of service is being the harbinger of light and not just pointing it out. And still, Vera Warren is not just the example. Sometimes a life of service is having vision in the land of the blind. And for years, she has walked in the name of that vision. When she took a mobile book selling service and decided it was time for a brick and mortar space. When she met her partner in vision, Jennifer Turner, who knew the books and loved the people as she did. When she expanded to a larger space and partnered with our beloved neighborhood gallery. Respect to Sandra Berry and Joshua Walker. When she opened doors for Black vendors at Jazz Fest and the Essence Festival. When she bought a building where Community Book Center stands to this day. when she stands as the owner of the oldest continuous Black bookstore in Louisiana, when she opened doors to closed minds, when she gave space and time to any who asked, when she connected New Orleans to the Black literary diaspora. It is no wonder Vera Warren Williams coined the phrase "more than a bookstore" as the motto for Community Book Center. Vera Warren Williams has always been and understood the concept of more than. She is proud yet humble, grand yet subdued, strong yet gentle. We look to her for guidance and understanding. We thank her for her being and doing, her service, her sacrifice and philanthropy, her vision and execution, her tenderness and sternness, her sharing of and invitations to join her family. Thanks is too little. Reverence we could never give enough. We simply say to God, thank you for sharing your blessing in the form of Mama Vera Warren Williams. And we love you more than.
Good evening, family. My name is Trent Smith. I feel like I should say Trent Smith Turner Williams, because this is my family right here. You know that's my family because, you know, I came dressed like one of my mamas. I don't have much to say. My wife does all the talking. I'm usually in the background with the children. So I'm gonna be short and sweet. On behalf of my family, we love y'all. Ever since I came to this city, I just felt like, I just felt welcome. Y'all have always made me feel welcome and comfortable. And you know, sometimes I have a bone to pick with Mama Jen, because Mama Jen be on the phone with my wife until the wee hours of the night, and it gets aggravating. But I love you, you know. Thank you. Oh yeah, I forgot. And Mama Vera, I did not forget. Come next Thanksgiving, I got you a deep fried turkey. I'm always making one for Mama Jan and the family, and I always, this year, you got a turkey coming, like Richard Pryor, you got a turkey coming. But thank you all, I love you. I'm gonna always be there for you whenever you need me, you know, and this goes for the entire family too. I love you all. I don't know where my little brother is. Where's, huh? Ali, where's Ali? He's in California. Oh, okay, all right, well, yeah, that's my man, right? But, yes, indeed, yes, indeed. But thank y'all, I love you, and I wish there was more that we could give to y'all, because there's so much more that y'all deserve. And y'all are a pillar to this city, a pillar to this community, a pillar to the country. And I love y'all, and keep doing what you're doing. And thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Trent, Brother Trent Smith, you could tell by his accent that he's an East Coaster from Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. I'd like to bring your attention to the fore, and I'd like you to join me in thanking Brother JR for his expert technical assistance. Sister Asali is going to close us out, but again, I'd like to congratulate our nominees, our celebrants, those persons who are the 2022 living legends. Sister Vera, Mama Jen, congratulations. And until next Living Legends Award, you will be the living legend until 20 and beyond. Yes, Sister Vera, I see where you have something to say.
I think that it's important. We cannot leave here this evening without acknowledging
Dr. Clyde Robinson.
Yes.
The committee and all of the staff that run the Center for African and African American Studies and produces these programs. And oftentimes during Black History Month and Women's History Month, we're always looking outside of ourselves. And we truly appreciate the honor that you have bestowed upon us by acknowledging us and the work that we continue to do for our community. And I also wanted to say, in honor of Mothers and Women's History, when Clyde self-corrected himself, that was his mother, that teacher, he said, no, that wasn't right, I gotta get that right. I had to get that right. And coming from, again, I wanna acknowledge my godmother, Mrs. Mildred Lyons Reese, who is 103 and a former principal at Mauricie Couvent. But I wanna say this for SUNO. If anyone, young or old, would like to further advance themselves, consider SUNO. I was introduced to SUNO when I was Daniel's age, when my cousin, Alva Davis Walker, Vera Davis's daughter, brought me on campus with her. So we can never underestimate how important exposure is. The moment I set foot on that campus, I said, that's the college I'm going to. I had an opportunity to go to college anywhere. I selected SUNO for undergraduate and graduate school. So it is truly SUNO forever. So I thank SUNO. We have to support our HBCUs and encourage our children to attend HBCUs where we know that they will be loved, nurtured, and cared for, and celebrated. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Vera, for that. And I'd also like to acknowledge the sister who painstakingly put our program together, Sister Darlene Holmes, who's the secretary, and a whole lot more in the Center for African American Studies.
And then on the note of land-grant institutions, since we're talking about that, now, Tennessee, they doing a little something on the reparations side that I think we should explore here. My daughter is currently a student at Tennessee State University, and UT Knoxville, another Tennessee land-grant institution, used to get all their money for a long time. Right here, UNO used to get SUNO money for a long time. Payback, that's all I'm saying. Y'all do what y'all do with that. But TSU getting their money back. Maybe about 300 mil for the first payment. I think it's 800 over the long term, but something to explore. So, we've come to that moment. Well, you know, it's not that moment, because as my children tell me, you always gotta be the last one to leave. The thing be over and you still there talking. So we're gonna still chill and fellowship and smile and love each other for a little while longer, but the program has come to a close. I'm so excited about the cash mob tomorrow that is the note I would like to end on. And so you heard the little message at the post-credit on the film. I would like to challenge us to do a little better than $25. If we could all do at least 100, we could do that, right? Can everybody spend $100 at community tomorrow? And get your people to spend 100? Borrow 10, 20, 30 if you have to, but bring your whole 100 to community because they deserve that and more. And so, you know, maybe you don't go get something, you know, maybe you don't eat somewhere, You know, maybe you might have to bicycle for a couple of days because that gas is. But we're going to delay some of our own personal gratification and give the much due gratification to these women who have supported us, have loved us, and lifted us even when we didn't know we were being lifted. And we're going to give them as much as we can, give back to them as much as we can, because we will never be able to give as much as they have given us. I thank you. I love you. Ashe.
And what is your name?
My name is Vera. Hey y'all, what does community book center mean to you?
It was always such a great reference in the Black community as far as raising and educating our children, because they wouldn't have got up there. I love them.
Sure. So your daughter went there?
I took my daughter there, and now she's taking her daughter there.
Generation.
Yeah, generation.
We give thanks. You want to say your name so they can hear you?
Vera.
All right. And what is your name?
My name is Vera.
Oh, and Mama Vera too. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Mama Vera. Number
You're
2.
welcome.
Y'all have a good day.
Hey y'all, what does community book center mean to you?
Community bookstore is just that. Community is the heart of my soul, and community is the soul of my heart. Because it has been here, it stands as a strong pillar in our community, educating, uplifting, defending, and promoting all that we are that's positive. And I love community bookstore.